I had no idea what I was going to see when I pulled up on the side of that cliff onto that ledge where that poor stranded man was. Now, let me back up a little bit. I mean, I am 600 feet off the deck, but that's not where this story starts. It was a cold night in northern Mexico, Christmas Eve, and we were just finished for the day. Everyone was wearing down jackets and beanies. It was so chilly, and there was a cold fog in the air. And we'd all kind of settled down in this little hut. And a lot of climbers come here to test themselves out on these really hard walls. And some of the climbs are hundreds of feet tall. And there was one in particular called Space Boys that had a big reputation. It wasn't a super difficult climb, but it was very long, 1,200 feet tall, and many people wanted to climb it. So we were in this hut, dark outside, the sun had gone down, and someone burst through the door and they said, "My friend is up on Space Boys. He's stuck on a cliff 600 feet up, and we're going to go rescue him. Who's in?" So me and my friend Mike Schultz, who naturally is the hero type, he goes right into problem-solving mode. He's an EMT. He's a wilderness first responder. He's led multiple expeditions of hoods in the woods, and I'm there with him. You know, I have some good training too. I've been on search and rescue teams, and together we run over there and we're like, okay, what's the situation? Okay, well, my friend is up on this ledge 600 feet up, and up this, you drive up the canyon and he's up there on this ledge, and I don't know what he's doing up there. I don't know how he is. Okay, what do we know about him? Well, he flashed his light at some people, and we don't know if he's hurt or if he's cold. And when I hear that, I'm in this down jacket and I'm chilly, and I'm thinking of somebody who's 600 feet up on a little ledge in the middle of winter and cold and injured in the dark. And I'm thinking, we've got to get up there and we've got to help him. So me and Mike and this other hotshot Mexican climber join up in a team of 3. And we figure, okay, either I'm going to lead or Mike's going to lead. We're going to switch off, and we're going to fix a rope, and then the hotshot is going to ascend the rope. So he doesn't have to climb the rock. He just climbs the rope with these devices. But me and Mike, it's a little more risky. I mean, it's in the dark. We're climbing by headlamp, and we've got 600 feet of limestone ahead of us. We've never climbed it before. We do have bolts about every 20 feet, but they're pretty sparse. So we say a prayer, and then we go for it. So after the first pitch, we're kind of still figuring stuff out, and we're yelling up there, and we've got the EMTs ready down at the bottom of the cliff. And the Mexican kid has a walkie-talkie, so he can communicate with the ground. So I do my pitches, and everything's working with our little team. And then Mike goes up into the dark, and I'm holding the rope for him. So I'm clipped into the side of this mountain, standing on a little skinny ledge, held in there by my harness. And I turn my headlamp off to save battery. And I'm there by myself, alone on this dark wall with the wind coming in, and Mike's getting further and further away, and I see his headlamp getting dimmer and dimmer as it gets smaller and smaller. And then the rope goes tight, and I hear this, "Okay, belay off!" And that's my signal to start climbing again. So I climb through the dark, turn on my headlamp, I'm climbing. I get to where Mike is. Our other friend is coming up just fine. And so we do that over and over again until it works out that my pitch, my section of the climb, is the last one that goes right up to this ledge. Now, I don't know why I volunteered for that one, because Mike is the EMT. He's the guy that knows how to deal with someone who's in shock, someone who has a broken leg, someone who has a severed artery, someone with a head injury. I'm just, I've read about it, so I guess I can do it. So I'm headed up this cliff, and it's this getting steeper, and I'm pulling on these holds, and they're kind of hard to see in the dark, and I'm moving up this thing and I have all these thoughts in my head about what am I going to find up here, because we haven't seen him turn on his light in hours. I'm thinking, is this guy dead? Is he wounded? What's going to happen? So I'm yelling and they're yelling and I'm yelling, and finally I see it's like 20 feet away to this ledge, and it looks like a pretty big ledge. So I keep climbing 10 feet away, and finally I clip that last bolt and pull onto the ledge, and it's a big ledge. It's the size of a child's bedroom and maybe 20 feet long. And I turn on my lamp. I'm like, hey, you okay? You okay? Hey, what's happening? Trying to make noise. And I don't speak Spanish, and this guy's Mexican that's climbing this thing. And I see him at the far end of the ledge, and he's in his sleeping bag, and he's fine. He's asleep. And I wake him up, and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm here to rescue you. And he's like, I'm confused. I really don't need any help. And I'm like, what? So I bring up my friend Mike, and we try and talk to this guy in English, and he's trying to talk to us in Spanish. So finally the Mexican kid comes up, and we're like, hey, he's fine. Talk to him and tell us what's going on. So they have this long conversation, and we're picking up words here and there. So it turns out this guy told somebody he was going to climb Space Boys. And he didn't tell him that he was going to stay overnight on Space Boys. Told him that he was just going and then he was going to see what happened. So somebody walking down the canyon saw this light, and they're like, oh my gosh, somebody's up there, stuck. So by the time it got down the telephone line to me and Mike, who had just cozied up to our table on that cold winter night, it sounded like an emergency. But instead it was just some kid having an adventure, but he didn't clearly communicate his intentions. So it's fine if you want to solo Space Boys and you want to sleep on a ledge. I applaud that. But make sure you clearly communicate your intentions so you don't inadvertently put other people in harm's way. So that's the lesson learned from this. Clearly communicate your intentions. Hey, I'm Jared. I'm the Lone Guide. So I really like helping people. And I have a lot of experience with adventures. I've done hundreds of adventures. Every adventure always has something go wrong. And getting a loan is really similar to that. There's some kind of obstacle. What the guide does is helps you get over, around, or through those obstacles. Some people call them a loan officer. I prefer loan guide because that's really what we're doing, is we're taking you from your desire to have a loan all the way to closing your loan. First, I simplify the process. Second, I make house calls. And third, I really do have the best rates. We actually negotiate with the bank. We can loan the bank's money for cheaper than they do. We don't have the overhead. So give me a call. Let me be your loan guide.